about the National Referral Mechanism. Richard, I'm a bit like you. I could talk about my job all day, but I've condensed it into some slides. I've also made a note of that book that you just recommended. I think it would be good for some of our staff that deal with quite traumatic material. So thanks for that. Yeah, my name's Dayle Clayton, and I work for the single competent authority within the Home Office. I've come along today with my colleague Steph Lee just to talk to you about the National Referral Mechanism. I've got some slides I'm going to show you. I'm going to read off my slides, so I apologise. I don't think I'll take up all the time, Anne-Marie, so I'm hopeful to leave time at the end for some questions or any conversations that come from the information that I'm about to give you. So I'm just going to share my screen. I'm not always very good at this, so bear with me. Let me know when you can see my presentation.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thanks very much. Yeah, so this is a presentation about modern slavery and the National Referral Mechanism. So what are the types of modern slavery? Human trafficking, labour exploitation, sexual exploitation, criminal exploitation, domestic servitude, and organ harvesting. Some modern slavery myths. Crossing the border is required in order to be trafficked. No, that's not the case. It cannot be modern slavery when organisers and victims are related or married, cohabiting or lovers. That is a myth. A person is not a victim of modern slavery when they say they had a better life previously. Absolutely not the case. A person is not a victim of modern slavery where she or he rejects offers of help. A child is not a victim if they appear to have willingly participated in criminal activity. Absolutely, all myths. So what is the National Referral Mechanism? It's a system by which the UK identifies and supports victims of modern slavery and human trafficking in line with our obligations under the Council of Europe Convention on Action Against Trafficking in Human Beings, also known, abbreviated to ECAT. The NRM is a multi-agency system involving our first responder organisations, the Single Competent Authority, Immigration Enforcement Competent Authority, and the Modern Slavery Victim Care Contract currently delivered by the Salvation Army. So, first responder organisations and first responders. First responder organisations are bodies who can refer potential victims into the National Referral Mechanism using the online portal. These include statutory agencies such as police, local authority, UK Visas and Immigration, Border Force and Immigration Enforcement. First responder organisations have the following responsibilities. It is for the organisation to decide how it will discharge these responsibilities. To identify potential victims, to gather information in order to understand what has happened to them, e.g. talk or interview the victim, explaining what the modern slavery and NRM process is to the potential victim so that they can give informed consent to entering the process if they are an adult and fully understands what will happen after a referral is received. Refer all victims to the NRM using the online portal. Provide a point of contact for follow-up questions and reconsiderations. A first responder is an individual working at a first responder organisation that is involved in discharging one or more of these duties. Victim support. All adult potential victims have the option to access support, but there is no obligation for them to accept it. The first responder should provide them with all the necessary information, including providing written information in the form of leaflets where available, to allow them to make an informed decision on entering that support. Support for adult victims referred into the NRM may include access to government-funded support through the Victim Care Contract, including accommodation, material assistance, financial support, translation and interpretation services, information and advice. Outreach support if already safe, secure and appropriately accommodated, which may include local authority accommodation or asylum accommodation. Access to legal aid for immigration advice, medical care and counselling, assistance to return to their home country if they are not a UK national. If an adult potential victim does not consent to enter the NRM, the statutory agency first responders are still required to submit a duty to notify a referral when consent is not given for a referral into the NRM process. We ask that they interview the potential victim and complete the digital referral form with as much information as possible. If the potential victim does not consent to enter the NRM, the digital form must still be submitted and different options will then become available when it is indicated that consent was not given. The first responder still has a responsibility to ensure the person is safe, so where appropriate, please consider contacting the police if they think a crime has been committed, referring to local authority, non-government organisations and local charities, signposting to the NHS, local support organisations. What does the first responder need to include in a referral? A clear and concise narrative of what happened, where and when, based on the potential victim's account and behaviour and any supporting information or external evidence they have to support their concerns. Provide context, explanation and observations of the circumstances. In the event of a no comment answer in a police interview, include the specific questions that were asked to determine indicators of exploitation. I can talk about indicators after my presentation if anybody has any further questions on those. Any trafficking or exploitation indicators and evidence witnessed, facts known and their professional opinion. Try to provide a time frame, chronology or sequence of events. Use their professional judgment to explain why they think it could be exploitation or what indicators make them suspect modern slavery or human trafficking. If details are not included in the referral, the competent authority will go back to the first responder for further explanation. This can impact on the potential victim by delaying the decision and access to support. So what constitutes a bad or not as good as we would like referral? Insufficient detail. So just stating that a migrant at Brook House, for example, claims to be a victim of slavery is kind of, we need a bit more than that. Incorrect biodata, lack of time frame, lack of indicators, no explanation of concerns, lack of locations, lack of information about how the person got into the situation or how they left the situation, if applicable. Saying a person was forced to do something without any further detail, lack of contact details for the potential victim and first responder. Just saying, see attached, please see interview without any indication of what has taken place or what was suspected. Referring because a legal representative or client asks you to, but you've not seen any indicators or evidence to support referral. Lack of investigation of facts, failure to discuss the details and obtain consent. So those are the kind of things that we wouldn't like, that are not helpful on a referral. I've gone too far. Oh, excuse me. Okay. So what happens when a referral is received into the NRM? So we will notify the relevant police force in order to register that a potential crime has taken place. We will notify the Home Office where the potential victim is a foreign national. We will notify the relevant local authority if the potential victim is a child. We then look to make a reasonable grounds decision, and we look to make that decision within 5 days of receiving the referral. And our reasonable grounds decision is made to a standard of proof where there are reasonable grounds to believe that an individual is a victim of slavery or human trafficking. In order for us to reach that decision, a good quality referral is really important. On receipt of a positive reasonable grounds decision, the victim then enters a minimum 30-day recovery and reflection period. We will then look to make a conclusive grounds decision, and we will gather further information from statutory agencies and any relevant professionals supporting the victim at that time. After a positive RG decision, to reach the conclusive decision to the standard of proof on the balance of probability. On the balance of probabilities, it is more likely than not that this person has been the victim of human trafficking and modern day slavery. So how do we define if somebody is a potential victim? The information that we receive in the referral predominantly and any supporting documents, we need to identify whether an action has occurred. And by action, what we mean is the recruitment, transfer or transport of the potential victim. And the action leads on to the means. Was that by means of threat, force, coercion, abduction, fraud, deception, abuse of power, position of vulnerability, giving and receiving of benefits for the purpose of exploitation? We will then look to identify the purpose and the exploitation type. So the purposes are the sexual exploitation, forced labour, domestic servitude, forced criminality and organ harvesting. It's crucial to note that children do not need to demonstrate a means that was used against them because they cannot give informed consent. If there is no transport in the action part of our consideration, then potential victims will be assessed as a victim of slavery, servitude, forced or compulsory labour, rather than a victim of human trafficking. Where there is the intent to exploit but nothing has happened, or if it is unclear what sort of exploitation was intended, a referral and a decision can still be made based on an unknown exploitation type. That's it. I'm going to stop sharing. That was probably quite a lot of information. Does anybody want me to go over a part of my